What's up, people? Today we're going to be checking out the Sofabaton U2. So without wasting any time, let's go ahead and get into the box. So first of all, I want to thank Sofabaton for sending this out for me to check out. I definitely appreciate it. Now, Sofabaton is something that I've been using before Sofabaton reached out to me. So when they reached out to me, I definitely wanted to check this out. Now, this is actually the second remote that I checked out from Sofabaton. The first one was actually the X1, which is your fully featured universal remote. This is at a higher price point at about $170. Now, the U2 is similar to the U1, which I originally owned. Now, this is the U1, so you can see they look a lot similar. So we're going to get into the box and see what the major differences is and see if it's worth the upgrade. So let's go ahead and get into it. Now, it comes in very similar packaging as the U1. All right, in the box, you have your U2 manual, you have your remote, and you have your two AA batteries. Now, of course, this works with Android or iOS. It supports up to 50 devices. All of the IR codes are on the app, so there's no need to look up the app inside the book. You have your advanced OLED screen, which is here at the top of the remote. You have your customizable macro keys, customizable remote buttons, and then of course you got the remote app, which is the main feature of this remote. So let me go ahead and get some batteries in this. Now, real quick, let's go over the differences before we set it up. The differences between the U1 and the U2. Now, this one right here is the U1. This right here is the U2. You can see they are very similar. So the U2 has the scroll wheel is slightly more raised than the U1. A lot of the buttons seem to be lifted a little bit more. The buttons on the U1 are a little bit more recessed, whereas in the U2 the buttons are a little bit more raised. Buttons on the U2 for the number key a little bit more separated, and again a little bit more raised. Very similar in size. I would say that the U2 is a little bit longer, but not by much. And then you go look at the back, still has the same ridges for the finger grips, which is very comfortable. I see the U2 has actual rubber at the bottom to keep it from sliding on your table, whereas the U1 just has a plastic stopper. And then the battery tray is a little bit different. As you can see right here is where you open the battery versus the U2 versus the U1 where you grab it from the side. So that's that. Now, in comparison to the X1, you can see the X1 has a much bigger OLED screen versus the smaller one right here on a U2. But of course, this is a $60 remote and this is a $160 remote. All right, so let's go ahead and get this set up with the app. I'm gonna go ahead and pull up the Sofabaton app. All right, so now I have the app up. As you can see at the beginning of the app, it gives you the option to pick from the U1 or the U2 or the X1. I'm gonna go ahead and select the U2. All right, so now it's telling me to press the two buttons at the bottom, the line key and the E key, and wait till it says pairing. So I'm gonna press those two buttons. All right, there you go. It says pairing. I don't know if you can see that, but it says pairing. Then it pops up on my screen. I'm gonna hit connect. All right, pick my country. All right, so now we're at the screen where we want to go ahead and start adding devices. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna add a Sony TV that I have here in the studio. Add. So I'm gonna go ahead and type in Sony. And I'm gonna say I don't know the model number, so I'm just gonna hit search. Now I'm gonna go ahead and hit Sony TV. Now I'm gonna point my remote towards my device, so I have it aimed at the device. I'm gonna hit next. Then I'm going to hit the power button. All right, and that first code worked. So did that command work? Yes. I'll go to the next. Hit OK. And that command worked as well. So I'm going to hit yes. Okay. And then that worked too. All right. So now I'm going to select my icon. It's my logo. Hit next. And now it's sending the information to the remote. You can see that says it's downloading it now. Okay. So it's now added. You can see where it says Sony there. And that name right there can also be changed if I wanted to. But right now I'm just going to leave it as Sony. And as you can see on the actual phone, it'll show you the layout of all the buttons that'll be operational with this. All right, so I'm gonna hit done, and that's it. So you can see it's labeled here, and then it's labeled here. All right, so that was simple enough, but let's go ahead and try to add a device that is like a generic device that happens to have an IR reader on it. So what I'm gonna do is, let's see. For instance, my studio lights, I use this generic remote, but I can program this remote to work on my actual universal remote. So let's go through that process and how that works. Now, if you knew the manufacturer for this, then it would be a lot easier. So I'm going to say I don't know the manufacturer of this device. So I'm going to go to learn from infrared devices. Now what you're going to do is you're going to aim this remote at this remote. Like that. All right. Then you're going to hit next. Now let's press what we want to learn first. So what I want to learn first is the on button. So I want that to be a power button. I'm going to press and hold the original remote aimed at the universal remote. And as you can see, it learned it successfully. And let's see what else we're going to do. Let's use these up and down keys. So now I'm going to learn that. So I'm going to press the up and down key. Okay, learned that. Let's learn the down key. Learned that. Let's do the left. And for right now, just do the right. And while we're at it, I'm going to add the two color temperature. I'm going to assign those to these two. So let's go this for the color temperature. Learn that. And then the right side. All right. So learned all the buttons I wanted to. Of course, you can go through and map out every single one of these buttons if you wanted to. But for the sake of time, I'm just going to add those ones. Then I'm going to go ahead and hit next. And I'm going to change the icon to, let's just use this little circle thing. And then I'm going to change the name of this to, I'm going to change this to Studio Light Remote. It only gives you a certain amount of characters, so I'm just going to leave it as Studio Light. Okay. All right, that looks good. That looks good. It's going to hit done, and then there we have it. So now you have your Studio Light. I have my Sony TV and my Studio Light listed here. So let's try to control my Studio Light. I don't know if you could tell, but when I hit that, the light turned off. So I'm going to select Studio Light on the remote here. Then I'm going to hit my power button. And as you can see, I don't know if you can see, my light is turning on and off now with this remote. I can change the color temperature if you can see that. This remote. And I think I used this for brightness. Bring the brightness up. And bring the brightness down. So a lot of different possibilities that you can do with this. So let's check out the macro options and see how that works. All right, so let's go ahead and set up a macro so to give you an example of how that works. So what you want to do is you want to go to, let's go to Sony. We're going to go to remote keys. And then we're going to go to one of these macro keys at the bottom. We see they have the red, green, yellow, and blue. So let's go to the red one. So we're going to go to edit macro for this key. we're gonna hit that. So add more. So what I want to happen is when I hit this button, I want to hit the power for the Sony TV and add one more. Then I want to hit the power for the studio light. And you can add the time delay in between. So you can imagine if you have a home theater set up and you want to use one of these macro keys, you can have it to turn on your TV, then a half a second later, turn on your receiver or your speaker or your DV player or your DVD player, or however you want to set it up. The possibilities are really endless. So let's go ahead and hit save. All right, so now once I'm selected on the Sony, as you can see, I'm selected on the Sony TV. And if I hit this red macro, let me back up for a second. And as you can see, when I hit the macro key, my light turned off and my TV turned off. Now, of course, if it was the other way around, if I would hit that again, the light and the TV turns on. So that's how you program one of these 4 macro keys. A lot of different functionality that you can use with this. A lot of cool possibilities that you can do with this. So a lot of these are the same features that you can find in the U1 that you find in the U2. I see that they really just updated the design. No real big glaring differences. They do tout that this has an extended IR range, but I've never had any issues with the U1. So definitely like this remote. One of my favorite remotes. I'm actually using this one more than I use the X1. Reason being is the X1 relies on a hub. This doesn't actually have an IR blaster on it. It requires the hub, so the hub has to be in a stationary place. Whereas to this remote, everything is stored on the remote and it has a built-in IR blaster. So I can use this for a TV in my living room, take it downstairs, use it in the basement. So, in my opinion, the best universal remote on the market, especially since the Harmonies went away. So if you want to check this out, I'll have this link down in the description. They actually hooked us up with a discount code. So if you want to get this on a discount, I'll have that discount code link down in the description. So if you have any other questions about this remote, definitely don't hesitate to drop them down in the comment section and I'll be sure to get to them. So I want to thank y'all for watching. Don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button, and I'll see y'all in the next video. Peace.